Hi, you're right. Welcome to our second lesson this week, which is our second week on Year 8 non-fiction reading skills on the theme of survival. Your title today is To Build a Fire by Jack London, Part 1, and we're going to be looking at how the writer uses language to suggest the danger that the man is in. Now, this is a short story based on facts about the dangers of travelling alone in sub-zero temperatures. Although this is not strictly non-fiction, it fits our theme of survival and could certainly have happened. Plus, it's a really good read. So what I'd like to do is note the title and learning objective. I want to pause here to do that. And then I'd like you to make sure you've got a copy of the text, which looks like this. Find yourself a highlighter, and in that colour, pick out every example of where the writer has talked about danger. And I'm going to pause here, and then I will share with you what I found. So everything that suggests the man is in danger. Have a read, see what you can find. Okay, well, let's go through some answers. What did I find? Well, in our opening, I noticed that he uses the word pall. You may not be familiar with this. It's actually the covering you put over a coffin when someone is dead. Nice. So we've got, or indeed, over a dead body. So we've got, there seemed an intangible is like, and you can't feel it or touch it, but it's there. Intangible pall over the face of things. Suggestive. A subtle gloom that made the day dark. So we've got a suggestion of death, darkness, and the weather being used to reflect the tone. And the tone, I think we would agree, is very forbidding. This is not like a happy holiday story. I also noticed this image of the dark hairline of the trail, the main trail, and I thought that might signify danger because it's actually just not an obvious trail. And that's not surprising when it says that a foot of snow has fallen since the last person went through there. And then we've got small trail to follow, and the fact that it's little used. Definitely danger signs. What about paragraph 3? Well, you may have picked out that in the description of the man, he doesn't seem like he's the ideal candidate for travelling in dangerously low temperatures. So I noticed that he's got a character flaw, and that is that he's without imagination. So he just can't imagine how it could go wrong, which could be a real flaw. If he hasn't experienced it before, he just won't be able to imagine it. Tricky. But it does say he was quick and alert, but then only in the things and not in the significances. So will he be alert to what's important? Tricky. And if he's not, well, that cost him his life. Also, I noticed that it's 50 degrees below zero at least here. And he says that that would mean a bite of frost that hurt. When they're talking about frostbite can cost you skin, limbs, fingers, toes, a whole arm, your life. It's very serious. It's basically death by freezing. So that's definitely a danger, is exposure to cold could cause us death. And that's a real danger when you get to such cold temperatures. I think it's probably talking about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, still chilly. And then it says that there should be anything more to it than that was a thought that never entered his head. As he turned to go on, he spat speculatively. There's a sharp, explosive crackle. Now, I thought sharp and explosive definitely sounded like danger words. A different kind of danger to the one he actually faces. The cold is more like quiet and insidious, but they suggest very vividly the danger he's in. Now, he says that if his spit crackles on the snow, it's 50 below. But if it crackles in the air before it even reaches the snow, it must be colder. But to him, he says, the temperature doesn't matter. Now, I thought that's definitely a danger sign. Why? Because he's being really complacent. Really complacent, this guy. He's like, well, it doesn't matter. He's going to the old claim. I also thought it was interesting that he plunged. Sounds careless. He plunged in among the big spruce trees and the trail was faint. A possible sign that he could get lost if he's not careful. What did we find on page 2? Well, I picked out they had an eager nose because I thought that shows that he's perhaps too eager to carry on, not cautious enough, even though literally it's just talking about the fact that his nose sticks out like mine does. But in this case, it could also be his personality. Think about that. And I thought this was really interesting as well. The dog. The animal was depressed by a tremendous cold. It knew that it was no time for travelling. Its instinct told it a truer tale than that was told by the man's judgment. So the dog is worried. And that's a bad sign because dogs have instinct. And sometimes instinct is better than judgment. Because judgment is based on what you know, whereas instinct could be intuitive. And the question is, does the man have good instincts or only good judgment? And in fact, another danger sign, I picked out the fact that it's actually minus 75. And that means that the dog is slinking along at the man's heels because he would really like the man to go and seek shelter. It's actually just too cold to travel. It's just too cold. But it doesn't sound like the man even has enough food to stay put. He's only got a sandwich in his pocket. And we've got more signs that the dog is worried. We've got his tail, his drooping discouragement. Nice bit of alliteration there. So the dog is pessimistic and he wants the man to stop. Interesting. Do we want the man to stop? Probably yes, if you want him to survive. And the thought reiterated itself that it was very cold. This is occurring to the man. And he thinks, do you know what? I'm actually going to get frostbite on my cheeks. But it's not serious. Even though he's going to get exposure, frostbite on his cheeks, not serious. So it's not changing his course of action. Interesting here, he sharply notes where he places his feet. And we've got another sign of danger. This case is actually very explicit. It says they were traps. They hid pools of water. So this is when he's walking along on top of a creek. A creek is like a small river. Imagine it running through a valley basin. They hid pools of water under the snow that might be 3 inches deep or 3 feet. To get his feet wet in such a temperature meant trouble and danger. So that's a really clear clue as to a possible risk. And of course, if your feet are wet and you have to stop and dry off, that slows your whole journey down, doesn't it? And here we see that he's actually worried about himself. So he makes the dog go in front because the dog's got fur, so it's a bit safer for him. And he has to actually give the dog a bit of a kick. He shoves it forward, and then it went quickly. And then it broke through, flounders, and then instantly the water freezes to his fur. He goes down to help the dog, but he's astonished at the swift numbness that smote them. Smoked is often a word used to describe God destroying or defeating. And it is suggested like a really acute and sudden attack. So we know that the quickness of the numbness and smoke all suggest a really acute sudden attack of the cold could be fatal. Then he starts noticing that his exposed fingers are going really, really numb. Notice the personification here, that it laid hold of his fingers. The numbness laid hold of the exposed fingers. It's like the cold is a hand that's reached out and grabbed. He chuckles at his foolishness. Ha 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 ha. Another sign that he's being complacent. Silly me. Numbness creeping back into the exposed fingers again. So he's possibly just missing the warning signs here. that this is too dangerous to travel. And here we hear, I don't know about you, but I picked this out because it's a piece of advice that he just did not take seriously, which is that it got really cold and you must not be too sure of things, he realised. You know that he laughed at him at the time, but now he's realising he should have taken it more seriously, should have perhaps prepared for this more thoroughly. That was what I found. I hope you enjoyed this first part of the story. It's going to get even more interesting next week. I hope you really enjoy it. That's it.